Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 30th and the 31st verses of the 7th chapter of the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Samhatya Anyonyam Ubhayoho Tejasi Sharasamvrite Avritya Rodasi Khamcha Vavridhate Arka Vakhnivat. The meaning of this verse is the 30th verse. When the rays of the two Brahmastras combined, a great circle of fire, like the disk of the sun, covered all outer space and the whole firmament of planets. Arjuna has released the counteracting Brahmastra, and the rays of the two Brahmastras combined, it was a great circle of fire like the disk of the sun. So Prabhupada describes this in the purport. The heat created by the flash of a Brahmastra resembles the fire exhibited in the sun globe at the time of cosmic annihilation. Cosmic annihilation means the entire material existence itself is annihilated. The radiation of atomic energy is very insignificant in comparison to the heat produced by a Brahmastra. The atomic bomb explosion can at most blow up one globe, but the heat produced by the Brahmastra can destroy the whole cosmic situation. So there is a lot of difference between the power of Brahmastra and the power of atomic bomb. The comparison is therefore made to the heat at the time of annihilation. The 31st verse. Drishtva stratejastu tayoho trilokan pradahan mahat dahyamana praja sarva samvartakam amamsata. The meaning of this verse, the 31st verse, all the population of the three worlds was scorched by the combined heat of the weapons. Everyone was reminded of the Samvartaka fire which takes place at the time of annihilation. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport to this 31st verse, the three worlds, three lokan, three worlds, are the upper, lower and intermediate planets of the universe. Universe, there are many planets, but it is divided into three divisions: upper, lower and the middle, intermediate planets. Although the Brahmastra was released on this earth, the heat produced by the combination of both weapons covered all the universe, and all the populations on all the different planets began to feel the heat excessively and compared it to that of the Samvartaka fire. At the time of annihilation, there is a big fire. That will be explained a little later by Srila Prabhupada further. But here he is telling that the combination of both the weapons produced a excessive heat, and everyone in all the planets began to feel the heat. So the conclusion is being made that no planet therefore is without living beings, as less intelligent people tend to think. Less intelligent people, they think that only the Earth planet is having intelligent human beings. Other planets, they sometimes say there is no life, or they say there are no intelligent people. But that's not correct. According to the understanding we get from the Vedas, the perfect knowledge source, there is life on all the planets. There is life on all the planets. And there are intelligent beings on all planets. So, Srila Prabhupada explains the radiation, heat of the radiation, when both the Brahmastras combined, increased manifold. Because one weapon was released by Ashwatthama, another was released by Arjuna to counteract that first Brahmastra on the instruction of Krishna. The heat was so terrible. Dahyamana praja sarva, all the inhabitants of the different planets, they felt the great heat produced by the two Brahmastras. And what did they feel it like? Samvartakam amamsata, the Samvartaka fire, they felt it is like the Samvartaka fire. That is explained in the Shastra. At the end, when there is annihilation to take place, there will be no rainfall. Everything will be dry. There will be a great fire all over the universe. That's called Samvartaka fire. And everything will be ablaze. This fire will take place on account of the heat increase of the sun. The sun is actually like a ball of fire, but because it is such a great distance from the earth, we don't feel it like a blazing fire. We don't feel like that. Except in summer, sometimes it becomes too hot. But that is for a short duration, and that is also something which we can tolerate. But at the time of universal destruction, what happens? It is said that the present temperature of the sun will be increased 12 times. So naturally there will be fire. Everything will be ablaze in all the planets. And sometimes we have experienced that there is a forest fire, and especially in summer when everything is dry in the forest, and the forest fire spreads very rapidly, and then the animals which are trapped, they will all be burnt alive in the forest fire, because whichever direction they go, they see only fire, so they cannot escape. They'll be burnt. Similarly, the fire will take place when the annihilation is supposed to happen, and everything will be burnt to ashes. This is the way the annihilation happens. And after that there will be rain, and torrents of rain, and that rain also, it is described, the intensity of the rain is like trunk of the elephant is falling. Water falling down is like a huge trunk of an elephant. And everything will be covered with water. That is called pralaya. And by the grace of the Lord, another creation will begin afterwards. So, this destruction that happens is cyclical. Creation, maintenance and destruction. This cyclically happens. But here, even though the combined heat of the two Brahmastras was like the Samvartaka fire, it was actually highly controlled. It is completely controlled. It was not intended for any destruction to take place. They just felt the heat for a moment, because after this it is described in the 32nd verse that Arjuna at once he retracted both the Brahmastra weapons as Lord Krishna desired. Arjuna did that. So he did not allow this heat to spread or this radiation to spread. He retracted both the Brahmastras, and he knew the signs perfectly. Arjuna knew the signs, and therefore he was able to retract both the Brahmastras by the knowledge of how to use that Brahmastra. So this knowledge is very, very important. Properly it has to be learnt. This Ashwathama, he had not properly learned this. Therefore, the scriptures advise tad vijnanartham sagurum eva vigachet. If you want to learn a particular branch of knowledge, you have to approach a proper guru, one who is actually well versed in the knowledge. And among all the branches of knowledge, the most important branch of knowledge is called Brahmavidya or Adhyatma Vidya, Atma Vidya. So Atma Vidya, and that is what Krishna is speaking in the Bhagavad Gita. At the end of every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Vyasadeva concludes by telling Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahmavidyayam. Brahmavidya. So Krishna is speaking the most important branch of the Vedic knowledge, that is Brahmavidya or Brahma Jnana, the spiritual science. Now all this Dhanurveda, everything is material knowledge. But this Brahmavidya, spiritual science, what is spirit? It is completely different from the matter. And spirit is the basis for everything material. Matter is got its origin. Of course, both matter and spirit are originally energies of the Supreme Lord. He has many varieties of energies, of which matter and spirit are two categories of energy. Matter means this material energy coming from material energy. The beginning of the creation, material energy is differentiated by the glance of Mahavishnu into 24 elements, and these 24 elements combined in different proportions, different combinations give rise to different objects, material objects. Our own body, gross and subtle body, and then the different planets and the varieties of living conditions. Everything is made possible by the differentiation of material energy into the 24 elements and the combinations of the 24 elements. But spirit is different. Spirit is another energy. Particularly the spirit, spiritual energy in the form of the living entity. Jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. The living entities belong to the category of spiritual energy, And they are also spiritual beings. Every living being is a spiritual being, not the body. And that's the whole teaching of the Gita. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.